Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be looking at adding some basic shapes to our CAD, and we'll be starting with a rectangle, and also this will be for FabriCAM software. But before all of that, let's have a quick intro first. So today's video can be found on softwaretraining.co.za. We make short and easy to watch problem solving videos, and we also have daily updates. Otherwise, we head into the program here. So now, like I mentioned previously in the intro, and this is going to be basically a mini series on basic shapes. So this is always a good starting point on just creating primitive shapes so that you can have a base to work with. Now, most of these shapes you'll be using throughout your designs, not always all of them at one go, but this is definitely a very good starting point. You can build all of these yourself with most of these tools, but it is sometimes way more simple just quickly grabbing a shape and using that. So we're going to start, like I said, with a rectangle. So zoom in here so you guys can see it a bit better. So there we go, we've got our first shape on our list, our rectangle. So how this is going to work, unfortunately you don't just click it and it is in your canvas. So it's first going to pop us up this little option setting, and then have us set the actual rectangle. Now first up we have origin. So origin will pretty much be the origin of the shape, which means the core point. So at the moment it's set to lower left. So we have two options here. We've got center and lower left. If I click center, we can see here on the preview it updates to the center of the shape. So in other words, what this means, if I make this center and I make maybe this rectangle, say 100 by 100, and then I add it to the canvas on 0, 0 coordinates, then we're gonna have 50 overlap to the negative, 50 positive, and 50 up, 50 down. So keep that in mind. So if I go lower left, then the lower left corner of this rectangle will be exactly on 0 if I leave our positioning at 0. So I'll quickly demonstrate that as well. So let's go, we set the width, so W for width, we're going to go 100, then we're going to go height 100, and then what do we have here, we have the actual angle we can set. So if we want a form of rotation, which is handy, you can go 45 or whatever else. I'm going to leave mine at 0 and then say OK. Now you guys will notice it does not just add it to our canvas, there's nothing here. And at the bottom here, if we were to read on our identifier panel, we can see here, click on single linear matrix or circular positioning, then click on the screen. So next to that, we have these positioning options. So we'll go into more depth on these, but for now, I'm just going to click single position. And then what we want to do is click on the screen. Now it's going to give us an option where to place this. Now, as you can see over here, we've got our X and Y. At the moment, they are 0 and 0. So you can set this to whichever location you want on your actual canvas or workspace, and then it will move it to there. So at the moment, like I said, mine is 0, 0. I'm going to leave that, say OK. And there we go. It's going to zoom this in. We've got our first primitive shape, a rectangle. And like I mentioned, if we now look here in the bottom at the location identifier, I don't know if you'll be able to see it while I'm moving my mouse, but I'll try just interpret it as well. So if I go to the bottom left corner here, we can see we've got 0 and let me get my height a bit down, and also 0. So this is going to be the origin point at the moment, 0, 0. So now if we had to do that same process and make it center, let's go 100, 100, okay, set positioning, 0, 0, say okay. Now if we go to the center, you can see we've got here 0, and if I go down a bit, about over there, we've got also 0. So now this will be the origin. So just keep that in mind. It is important while you're working, otherwise you might get quite frustrated. So yeah, otherwise that is it on the actual rectangle and placing it. Very straightforward, one of your most common primitive shapes to work with. So you'll probably be using that a lot. But yeah, otherwise, before we move on, if we head here to softwaretraining.co.za, you guys will notice we've got a variety of different softwares we do cover, and you can also isolate your search on the top right. If you do not, however, find the training videos you're looking for, just simply go here, request a training video, fill in the mini form, and then we'll do our best to try and make that for you. But otherwise, thanks guys for watching, and cheers.